And welcome everyone. We're back for another episode of the Golden Ticket Show. My name's Dan with Gotham Gambling. I'm here with my man Better Bets. We're about to bring you all the best plays for this weekend's divisional round. Maybe even a couple plays for Saturday if we see anything we like in terms of college hoops, basketball, pretty much anything else. Thank you guys again for joining us. Bets, how we doing today, brother?
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. How'd you feel about the first round of the playoffs? I felt it was kind of a little bit boring until like the last games or the last game on Sunday at least.
Yeah, I thought it was not the best. Green Bay kind of was a letdown. Vikings got smoked Monday. So yeah, we really just had the Redskins game, or I guess Commanders. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, and I honestly, in my opinion, maybe it's because I bet on Baker Mayfield that Commanders game felt a little disappointing too, but just because everyone kind of coming in was thinking it was going to be this huge kind of like shootout, and then like Baker Mayfield throws the ball 18 times. They just kind of each drive to feel like it was just like a methodical, like long shift that just wasn't going to ever end.
Yeah, you kind of
But
felt
yeah,
like that about a lot of the games. I feel like even like Broncos scored immediately. Bills score immediately. Like, all right, we got a game here. Then Bills just proceed to pound the rock on them
yeah,
the whole game.
I was telling my buddy that one felt like when you're watching March Madness and that like the 16 seed goes up like 20-7 in the first 5 minutes, and everyone's getting rowdy, and then they go into halftime up one, and then they just get absolutely cleared out in the second half. That's how it looked to me, at least. Watching that game.
It's kind of the similar with the Chargers one too, don't you think? With the Chargers and Texans were kind of up the whole time the Chargers were, and then the second half the Texans just throttled them.
It was that last like 2 minutes of the first half. Like it was kind of like, all right, you got hit in the face. How are you going to respond? And they just fell apart.
It was, yeah.
God, it was gross. But speaking of the Texans, let's move on to game one this weekend. We got Texans at Chiefs, 8.5-point spread. The total has dropped. It was 43 when this line opened up. It's at 40 now, or 41.5 actually. Do the Texans have a chance here, or are we just going to see dominance from Mahomes today?
The Texans probably don't have a chance, but I really want to bet on the Texans. I'm not going to lie. I was hoping the line would go up to 10.5. It went to 9.5. It's back at 8.5 for me.
Yeah, it's just such a hard game to look at because we kind of almost like saw the same thing from Stroud last year, right? Like it was a dominant opening week performance, and then they just kind of slowly fell apart in the next round. The Texans have just been a stay away team for me this year. They've just been so on and off. I think that the big thing we talked about last week was that the Chargers defense for pass on paper looks great, but the key thing is that they get absolutely smoked when it comes to like deep balls. And that's what happened was Nico Collins was just getting hit with everything. And then, but now you have one of the best defenses in the league with two of your top receivers out. They know the game plan. It's Nico Collins, Joe Mixon. I don't know if I'm taking a spread here, but I kind of like the side on the under here.
Hey, I was just about to say the same thing. Like the Chiefs, great defense. And we all watched last week. Texans, when they're playing on their A game, they can be a great defense. Derek Stingley nails. Will Anderson nails as well. They were just dominating Herbert, picking him off 4 times as many picks as he threw all season. It's probably going to be pretty cold.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that worries me with it is it's always so hard to take an under with Pat Mahomes on the other side of the ball, just because at any point he could just throw 2 80-yard bombs. And the fact that I think most of their receivers are coming back healthy this week. So, it's not like, week 5 when it was just Xavier Worthy and aging Travis Kelce. Now you got Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, I believe, is supposed to be active. You got Pacheco back. Like, their offense is back at full force at like the worst time if you're playing the Chiefs. But I'm looking at the numbers here, and even, about 60% of the money is sitting on the under here. This line keeps trending down. There's a lot of sharp action on it. I would say my best play that I'm looking at, honestly, is I'm hoping one of these teams scores on the first drive of the game, and it kicks the line up to like 45, 46, and then I might take the under there with a live bet.
I like that. The quick score, just hit the live bet on the under immediately. On DraftKings, it looks like a lot of money's going on the over, but the line's moving down. So I think that bodes well for the under. A lot of sharp money going to the under, public going to the over.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I was seeing it. Because I think at the end of the day, I think Andy Reid's happy with taking a 10-point lead and just letting his defense kind of shut everyone down. But I mean, in my opinion, it's so hard to take anything against Mahomes in the playoffs. They're just too good. And that's why I think the Chiefs. It's the same thing with player props. The Chiefs have just always been a stay away for me, unless I like the spread, just because of that. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if this is going to be a Pacheco 40 rush game, or you don't know which receiver it's going to be. Everyone thinks, all right, this is a tight end game. It's going to Kelce, and then it's Justin Watson for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
So I think for me, Dylan brought up Mixon under 57.5. I don't know about that one. I'm gonna leave that one up to you. What do you think on that one?
Mixon under 57.5. I mean, you kind of want Chiefs to go up early in that one. They don't get a lean on the run game at all. Texans got to throw the ball because Mixon has been tearing it up all year. Chiefs are decent at stopping the run, but they're not unstoppable. But if we're looking at the under, I don't know if the under on the rushing is the best bet.
Yeah, I think the thing with his rushing yards is you have to look at are you expecting them to be down?
Exactly.
It's kind of how I'm looking at it. Like, because if I think the thing is, last week everyone was looking at the same thing. I'm seeing there's value on the under. I think the under at 57.5 probably needs to be closer to plus money than it is. I don't know, because it's one of those situations where if Mixon gets hot, they're just going to keep feeding him the ball.
Yep. And if it's a cold game, maybe there's some. I don't think that there's expected for snow like some of those other games, but it's usually pretty cold in Kansas City, and it always bodes well to run the rock in the cold.
We got 24 degrees at kickoff with 13.5 mile an hour winds, going kind of left and right, but also going end zone to end zone. So I don't know. That might be an interesting one. The way Fairbairn's been kicking, that might be something to look at too, is his kicking props. Maybe taking the under on those if it's nice enough.
I always think Fairbairn that's a good kicker, and he's just been kind of hit or miss this season, it seems.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I think the only other thing that would keep me in this game possibly being an under is these two teams played each other like 3-4 weeks ago, like into the season. Like, they've played each other back into the season already. So they kind of know how to play each other now. So I think that's another look at the under. I think that's something I'm kind of targeting there. Dylan, I shot you a DM. If you want to join in, give us some of your plays, man. Come on in. But any other official plays you're looking at for that one in terms of
I got a couple, just some leans. So last week, or not last week, but week 16. I think was Marquise Brown's first game, and he got a good amount of looks. And I'm kind of liking some Marquise Brown play tomorrow, thinking he might get a little bit of looks, maybe a deep ball. His over-under is 41.5, which seems pretty high. So that makes me think that maybe that others are thinking he's going to get a lot of looks. And they're going to be draped on Kelsey. We all know that. And Hopkins,
you said the line was what, 43?
Mine was at 41.5 when I locked it, but I'm not sure what it is now.
Yeah, I see 43 on mine. I'm gonna write that down as 41. Yeah, I don't mind that one. I think I was looking at DeAndre just for a revenge game standpoint.
Oh yeah, I like that too.
I did see earlier, I think the lines adjusted a bit.
Yeah, they have 43.5.
But I was looking at his receptions. So he's hit this in 7 of his last 10. 7 of his last 10. He's hit this in 3 of 4 games against his former team, including last 2 years. He had 7 in back-to-back games. I think it's a good look, especially when I caught it earlier in the week. It was at plus 130. Fair value on it is sitting at around plus 100. It's at plus 109 right now, so I don't mind it. So it's just not my favorite personally. If I'm taking this, I might put for half a unit. Is where I'm looking at for this one. For the 4.5 receptions line, or 3.5 actually.
For Brown.
For Hopkins.
Oh, Hopkins, yeah. I actually weird. So on DK, I got 2.5, but it's minus 160. So 3.
Yeah, and I got 3.5 at plus 109 right now. So I mean, that means even if you want to take 4.5, he's hit 4.5 in what is it here? He's went over 4.5 in 2 of 4 meetings against them and 1 of his last 3. So he had 4 last time out against Houston. So
yeah, he's been getting at least 4 receptions for basically every game. Not the Pittsburgh game, but 4 or 5, 4 or 5.
Yeah, and I'm looking at his target lines this year. He's averaging about 5 targets a game when he's getting 5 or more.
No, I'm in. I'm locking that.
Yeah,
I love
it. 5 or more targets. He's let's see here. What was it at 3.5? Yeah, if he gets 5 or more targets, he's hit this in every game this year. So playoff time, I think he'll definitely see 5 targets. Yeah. That's I'm locking that one in. So moving on, best bet for both for that one. This one is probably going to be the most fun game of the year. If there was a prop you could find for how many punts punters would kick, I would take the under on both these teams. Commanders Lions, we have a 55.5 spread. It's it's a plus 9.5 for the Commanders right now. We saw the largest spread or the largest total in the last over the last 2 years. The largest total each round has went under. I don't want to do it because it's so hard to take an under with the Lions, but I'm kind of leaning the under here. I think 55 is just a little bit too high for a playoff game, but I want to see your thoughts on that.
You know, I'm thinking the same thing. 55 seems insane, but it might just be so high that it's got to hit, honestly. But looking at last year, I believe the line was pretty high for Ravens Chiefs, and they ended up 20-27. Yeah. Well under that.
Yeah, I'm sitting here looking at this, and the big thing, and I'm a huge Lions guy this year. The last couple of years, I love Dan Campbell.
Oh yeah, same.
The big thing I'm looking at here for this one, my auto lock this year has been the Lions on the second quarter spread, specifically the second quarter.
I love that.
And first half spread because of this. They've given up 46 points in the second quarter this year, and they've scored 174.
Wow. So
the big thing I'm looking at, like, I'm not their second and third quarter stats. They've scored 280 points in the first and fourth quarters. They've only scored 90. And I'm looking at this this Commanders team, and it's it's sort of similar, except the fourth quarter, like their fourth quarter has been horrendous. They've given up the most points in the fourth quarter this season, but have scored over 100 points already in the fourth quarter. The second quarter alone, both this is a very high octane second quarter team, which is slowly making me want to bet the second quarter total is at 17.5 points for a single quarter. The spread's at 3.5. Part of me wants to take it just because, you know what I mean?
Do you like the spread at all with your second quarter Lions? I kind of love your stat of the second quarter Lions, 40 points to 170, you said?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They've been dominating. The big thing is, again, the one thing I might just target first half total, because the Lions they don't score a lot in the first quarter. It's just that second quarter. So this might be like I might see how the game starts, and if it starts out slow, then I'll take the over on the first half total once we get a little bit closer in. But yeah, I'm kind of sitting there. Betalytics likes the Detroit minus 9.5. I don't know about taking a 10-point spread in the playoffs. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm a big take the points guy when it is. I don't usually like taking the minus sign on the spread. I usually will just do something else in props. Gotcha. If I was leaning aside, I would. It's tough because I could totally see the Lions just dismantling the Redskins. Like, it's been a great season for them. Jaden Daniels. I mean, they got the guy, but I think the road ends here, and I think the Lions just whomp them.
Yeah, and then, like I said, I think a lot of teams are expecting a huge game. In this one, I'm seeing a lot of Jared Goff's projections being over like almost 300 yards.
Yeah,
this week.
Basically, all the props are crazy for this game.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that's keeping me away from this is it's the same thing. You remember last year when they played the Vikings in like week 4, and the spread was almost or the total was almost like 60, and it was like I even looked at touchdown bets. Like, you can't bet Montgomery, Gibbs, St. Brown, they're all almost minus 180s.
Yeah, they are all minus.
And the best value player is Laporta, and even he's still at like plus 190. That's just, it's almost like horrendous. It's not even worth taking.
Speaking of Laporta, that was the literally only play I really like is Laporta touchdown. I just kind of like riding tight ends in the playoffs too, because when playoffs happens, you kind of go with your go-to guy and your safe guy, and Laporta's kind of been that safety net for Jared Goff, at least the last couple of weeks after a slow season.
Yeah, and I was kind of looking at his Goff's completion mark, but the big thing that's kind of keeping me away from that is, the sides I've heard on this is these are two offenses that are going against very bad pass defenses, and it's going to be a lot of scoring. But the thing is if Detroit is a hard place to play right now. You beat Tampa. Tampa's got, average level of fans. This is going to be insanity. And Jaden Daniels definitely does not feel the pressure of it, but this is a lot harder of an environment, a lot more motivated team. With the way their defense kind of feeds off the energy of the crowd. We might not see Goff throw the ball as much, so I don't know if I want to take his completions. You got Montgomery back. You have Gibbs, who's been absolutely automatic. This could be one of those games where, Goff throws for 300 yards and he only has 15 completions because they're just throwing bombs every play.
Yeah, that reminds me, actually. We'll go back to a bad beat of mine this year. Some game the Lions went to overtime early in the season. I'm trying to remember which one. But Jared Goff, they go to overtime. I needed Jared Goff to throw for 8 passing yards in overtime. 8. Montgomery ran the ball all the way into the fucking end zone. All the way. Not one pass from Jared Goff. Lions win. I lose. I agree. I mean, Jared Goff's passing touchdowns is at 2.5 right now. For a team that gets a load of rushing touchdowns, that seems crazy as well.
I think I got one I kind of like here. So my big thing is, even though Montgomery's back, I don't think they're going to be utilizing him as much. As much as Dan Campbell is balls to the wall, I think it would definitely be stupid of him to bring Montgomery back full force. I think we could see a limited role from him today, especially, his rushing yard line is at 45 for someone who got as much carries as he did. Gibbs has been automatic. He's out clearly running back 1 the rest of the playoff race. His line's at 82.5 is what I got. See if I have it right. Yeah. 83.5 on some books, 85.5 on others.
Yeah.
I might take him for 100 plus at plus 150. I'm actually
seeing if you're taking
83.5,
might as well, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing plus 172. The only way I don't see this hitting is if Detroit just comes out stale and they just slow down and Washington takes a lead. But I don't see that happening. I think even if they're down, they're putting the ball in Gibbs' hand as much as possible. So I like 83.5 here. Looking at the value, I think I'm only putting about 3/4 of a unit on this one. And then I'm gonna put 1/4 of a unit on the 100 yards. You can get it on FanDuel plus 170. Yeah, I mean, that's probably my only play there. I think that's why I don't want to take the over or under, because this could be one of those games where they're up 2 scores second half. They just run the ball with Gibbs 100 times.
And a lot of these games, those teams that have the bye, sometimes they start out a little slow. So we might not have the biggest high scoring immediately. We might just get it a little closer to the end.
Yeah, and I think that's what even God, I was going to say take his rush receiving mark, but it's 112.5 right now.
For his basic? So they expect him to get 40 receiving yards and 80 rushing?
He has, over the last 5 games, he is averaging 134.8 rush plus receiving yards. And in the last 3 games, he is averaging 162 rush plus receiving yards per game. And the big reason why I'm looking at that one is when I'm looking at his season total, I'm like, especially for his rush yards, like I'm looking at the games where he hit 100 plus, right? And he did it in 5 games this year. Though it was a 2-game stretch beginning of the season when they had Tampa Bay, and I can't remember who they played the week after that, but I think it was someone good. Over the last 3 weeks, Minnesota must-win game, 140 rush yards. San Francisco, it was a must-win game, even though San Francisco's bad, 117. Chicago, again, a must-win game because Minnesota was right on their tails, 109 yards. Every game he needed to be the main guy, he was. And every game where they did not need Goff to throw 100 times, he was dominating on the ground. So I think I'm looking at him this year the way everyone kind of looked at Pacheco last year is how I'm kind of reading him right now. So I have his projection at 86. So I think, 82.5 for sure. And then I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on 100 plus just for fun.
How do you feel about his receptions? I have it at 3.5 plus 125, the over.
Yeah, it's great. I'm seeing some books have it at minus. I have Fanatics has it plus 140. I got FanDuel at plus 130. I don't mind it. I mean, he is one of their most targeted backs.
It looks like he's hit it since December. He hasn't missed it since November.
Yeah, he's averaging about 4 targets a game. When he gets 4 or more, he's got an 80% success rate this year, and between this year and last year, at 77%. I don't mind it. The only reason I'm staying away from it is actually no, I don't mind that because I mean I'm using my tracker thing. It's saying that it caught it when the sports books had it at -150, and it's saying the line needs to be at 101. So if you're getting it above, I would say plus 105, it's worth putting some money on it. That might be I might do a half a unit on that one as well.
Yeah, the last time he got under was November 28th, so he's been doing it.
Yeah, that's yeah.
The really only worry is if the Lions are beating them so badly that they're just running it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why that might be like a half. That might be like a half unit play for me, just because of that. Because if they start smoking them, then they're gonna do the 3-headed monster in the backfield, and just run them to death. But I mean, this is the thing is this is Dan Campbell. He could be throwing the ball on 3rd and 6 up 30.
Yeah, he could. That's true.
Yeah, I think that kind of covers most of it. I'm actually seeing the line on this game actually went back up to 9.5 from 9, so it's slowly moving again. I'm seeing a couple people taking the team total over 32.5.
I got a kind of a weird one for that game. Each team to score a touchdown and a field goal in the Chiefs, the Texans. Kind of like both good kick. I mean, Butker's actually been a little iffy, but prior to this year, he's always been great. Just kind of something I hit when I think teams will get to the red zone area or at least in field goal range. Might not convert every time.
I have one I just found that if you're playing it, I'm playing it for 1/10 of a unit just to see if it hits, you could get a little extra coin. David Montgomery first touchdown or first team touchdown. If they get the ball inside the 5, I think they're still going to go with him. I'm still on the fence if I want to take it, but like personally, but you can get I'm trying to find like a God, they did not have the line I was looking for this, and I think they did that on purpose because they know everyone was going to take it. I was looking for Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery first touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
But they did not have it. Yeah. Yeah, I think some of the sports books don't even know what's going on with Montgomery this week still, so I think they're all kind of out of it.
Yeah, DK doesn't have the combo; they just have the singles.
Yeah, so I think that might be a stay away until I can find a better line for it. But David Montgomery at plus 550, depending on, I want to see how it moves. If it starts moving closer to like 450, then I might take it, just because it means they're clearly showing that he's going to play. Any other Lions Commanders bets before we move on to Sunday night?
I guess real quick, I don't know if you in New York, if you guys can do DraftKings or whatever, but they're doing the promotion for the end zone, king of the end zone, longest touchdown. Yeah, do you have any picks for that? I don't know, I just did some random ones. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know you could choose multiple last week, so I just chose one out of all the games, and when I figured out you could choose up to 3, I was pissed. I was like, I maybe put Curtis Samuel in there. 13K of bonus bets.
I would say if I'm taking anyone for that,
I think JMO is probably the easy bet.
Was what JMO and McLaurin was what I was looking at for that. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna double check all of those.
Yeah, I got Jameson Williams for the Commanders Lions game, and then for Chiefs Texans, I didn't know. I was on the Marquise Brown train, so I said might as well throw it on there, get him in the end zone, see if he'll get a long one.
Yeah,
I think
I
in the
would
Texans game,
say
Collins and Xavier Worthy are probably the easy choices, but I feel like it's never that. Last week it was a bunch of both random guys. Like all of them were
and I
random.
think this week it's going to be on the Saturday games. I don't see anyone on the Eagles having a big catch. I don't see anyone on the Rams having a big catch.
Oh, well, how they're doing it is it's separate. So it's Saturday and then there's
Okay.
another one Sunday. So we'll get, yeah, because those other games, they're going to be pretty cold. I'm pretty
I
sure
would go if I'm taking one. I think I would go Nico and JMO.
yeah.
Those are the two players that have the longest odds for receptions in those games. So I think that's probably your best chance. And they're both got pretty good odds to score a touchdown. So I mean, you get both of them, you're going to get the touchdown at plus 400, and if one of them gets it, you get the extra bonus bet. So I think that's a good move. Is going JMO there. If you want to get real frisky, you could do. You know, probably do Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I was about to say your boy
Or
Jahmyr
Olamide has randomly been getting touches out of
there's that
nowhere.
one guy too, Dwami Brown. He was getting a lot of looks last week too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research into that one for tomorrow. Then we got moving on to Sunday, we got Rams, Eagles. Andrew saying I'd be afraid to play the Rams right now. Are you in agreement with that?
I'm gonna be honest. No, I'm gonna take one from Bill Simmons' book where he says don't get tricked by the team that looked better than they were the week before. And the Rams played out their mind. They killed Minnesota. I think Minnesota is a paper tiger. Sam Darnold, never believed in him. Always seeing ghosts, against the Pats. And I like the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I have it projected at let me pull up my projection on it. I had it projected close to 5.5, which usually means I'm not going to take it if it's within like a point or two of my projection for a spread. I said weeks ago that the Eagles were on a downslope, and that this is what we see every year. They start off like as one of the best teams in football. They hit the bye week, and then some random bullshit happens. This year it's AJ Brown turning into Antonio Brown with all the drama and like I'm just saying, you notice these guys get one hard hit and then they start growing a really messy looking mustache and hairdo, and then all of a sudden they start causing like major problems.
I think it's the hard hit mixed with the
because I was looking at his mustache. Like, look at him when he first got there to like 2 years in, and now he's got the Antonio Brown mustache. I'm looking at this game, and like we saw this matchup earlier. Saquon dominated. It's a great matchup again for Saquon. It's supposed to be snowing. Yeah. And you're going to take a whole team in LA that plays in a half enclosed dome, and you're going to put them in the Philly weather in the cold. No, that's not a great look. And especially with your running team your running defense is 28th. And on average this season, running backs are getting 6.8 yards above their lines on average against this team. I mean, we saw Charbonnet go 6 over. We saw Kamara get 112 against them. Barkley had 255. Remember that. I'm not taking Barkley's props because I think they're going to be juiced because of that. Ramondre Stevenson had a 75-yard game against these guys. Kenneth Walker had 83 earlier in the year. Alexander Madison had 92 against them. And then DeAndre Swift, as the third string running back going into that week, had 93 against them. His line was at 30. James Conner had a 100-burger. David Montgomery had a 90-burger against them. This is not a good run defense. And what does Philly thrive in? Teams that don't have good running defenses, because Jalen Hurts is not throwing the ball. He still looks like he's concussed. He did not look good last week at all.
No.
And you have two top 15, top 20 receivers on your team, and you get 2 targets to them is absolutely criminal. But The big key, and I'm sorry, Cheese, if you're listening, because I know Betting Cheese is our resident Vikings fan on the For Frequency's Sake network, other than Jordan. Minnesota's pass defense, although they're great with the blitz, they're terrible in the pass defense. And in the playoffs is when regular seasons when you work the playbook. The playoffs is when you find the fault and you break it down. And that's what they did. They knew that they were going to blitz. Stafford had to get the ball up quick, and that was the way to beat them. And that's what they did. And simply that. Now you're in a situation, the Eagles know what to do. They need to hand the ball off to the running backs, and they need to make it so hard to stop the run that it forces them to blitz and the pass is open. And that's what's going to happen again this week. So I think I want to fade the Eagles. I really do. But they're winning this game. I think, again, I don't know if I want to take the -6. I might see if it drops down to 5.5. I might even do like I was going to do for the Texans game. I might see if LA gets the ball first, they put up points, and then I can catch the spread at like 4. That might even be my move. That's probably my best bet for that game. I genuinely don't trust this Eagles team. I'm looking at like Jalen Hurts' pass line might be a good fade. It's sitting at 200. Barkley's projected 120 yards to this week, so this is just a game. I don't know if I want to take anything on it besides the spread. Like I can't see a player prop angle.
All right,
I like Hurts' under, but it's sitting at 210 as the projection, which makes me nervous. But what do you got?
How do you like this Barkley prop here? Like you said, fade hot teams and cold. Always a great strategy with the California teams. Miami always seems to work. Saquon Barkley, longest rush over 18.5.
I don't mind it. I think I want to see how the snow lands because it's supposed to start snowing as the game kicks off because we're getting it here in New York too. So I want to see how the snow is kind of falling. Like if it's sticking, then yeah, I'm not, touching that with I might not touch that because that's going to be a little bit harder for him to run in.
You think so? Even with the snow, I always think of that LaShawn McCoy game like 10 years ago where
as someone who just wants to see great football, like I hope it snows so much that like you got to see Barkley high step it just to get a couple of yards, like. But I think that's why I just said like the lines. I like finding the lines where it's like between 50 and 70 for players because then you can say, okay, this guy's gonna have a good game or he's not. Those 100-yard lines are so iffy sometimes to me because it's most likely he's going over because if not, why would they put the line at 115? Yeah. But Saquon has shown that if they're winning, he'll sit.
Yeah.
The way I'm seeing this game go, like we might not see Saquon in the fourth quarter if the Rams can't keep it close. We might see Gainwell get more touches. We might see a lot more Hurts runs. So unless I think he'll hit it. I genuinely think it's good. Like it's the same thing when I'm gonna talk about Derrick Henry. It's gonna be freezing cold, and you got to try to hit Saquon Barkley and stop it. You're not stopping that. No. So I think he could get a 20-yard run at least. I don't mind it.
He's just the guy that like open space, like he hits that every time it seems, and he's just been doing it game after game this year. That Eagles offensive line, they just create so much space for him, and he might be the best guy in the NFL with some space.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like I was watching a video today where it was like his 10 longest runs of the year, and I think 8 of them he didn't get touched until he got tackled. Like he just smoked through the line. Like their line is too good. Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't think I'll play that because those I always get annoyed with those because you'll get like he gets 18, but technically forward progress was at 16, so they move it back 2 yards and you get screwed out.
I never take those types of props. I just thought it was pretty wild with his running line being so high. Yeah. Like how can you get 110 rushing yards without that?
Jalen Hurts' pass touchdown line is actually interesting to me. So they're heavily
It's not
expecting him
0.5,
to.
is it?
It's 1.5. The under is
Okay.
sitting at 165,
Really?
which that's very juiced. But
Yeah, a lot of juice.
but I don't mind it more than anything. It could be like a parlay piece if you want to put that with like Saquon to get 75 yards. I'm looking to see if I find yeah, I think 165 is the best I got. I'm seeing 190 like minus 200s on here for that. Like this is gonna almost be like their when they went to the Super Bowl. Remember it ever like you could always almost bet his under on passing touchdowns because if they got inside the 5, it was just tush push all the way through.
Yeah.
So I think that I want to see if the line drops a bit, but that might be a stay away. Personally,
Any
but
touchdown leans you got?
honestly, I don't even know with this game. Like I feel like Stafford is that same boat in Mahomes. It's just like you don't know who he's actually going to throw to.
That's how I've been feeling. He's been kind of
'Cause-
ignoring Cooper Cup the last couple weeks, which is weird. His
Yeah.
breakfast play.
Yeah, Don said it best last week. Puka Nakua is Sean McVay's new plaything. That's his guy. Yeah, I'm looking at like the odds versus where I see it at. I mean, with LA, I mean, Cup's probably got the best. Cup and Williams probably have the best value.
I
I
saw it
just
at
don't.
41.5 earlier. What are you seeing right now?
Oh, for the score.
Or for his receiving, for Cup's receiving.
I don't know, man. That's what I'm saying. It's hard because like you could think it's a good game for Cup, and then Nakua gets 20 targets. I think it's depending on how they run the defense. The secondary for the Eagles, they finally kind of figured it out, and I think that was the big thing that I saw like Vic Fangio's defense always takes a long time to get adjusted to. And they're finally figured it out, and that's the one thing that's saving them is that their defense is shutting people down. So I think LA player props are just probably out for me.
Yeah. If it makes you feel better, Cooper Cup was 41.5 earlier. It's now 37.5. So that is trending the way you're speaking.
I do need to check one that I saw something on it earlier. I want to see where they kind of have it at. And that was Tyler Higbee's reception line at 3.5.
He was
So
getting hit last week.
DraftKings got plus 120. He is one of Stafford's favorite targets. I'm looking, make sure. Yeah, with Matthew Stafford, his last 20 games with him, he's getting about 4.5 targets a game. When he gets 5 targets or more, since 2023 and in 2023 and 2024, he's averaging 4.9 catches per game. He's had 5 or more in 6 of those games, and he had 6 in one last year against the Giants where he had 5 targets. Last week, we saw Tucker Kraft get 5 catches. So, and I think that's kind of the thing is where would you rather get beat if you're the Eagles? Would you rather get beat by Tyler Higbee or would you rather get beat by Puka Nakua?
Exactly. They're going to be all over Puka. Like you said, Sean McVay's favorite toy. Higbee was getting peppered last week. He caught every catch he got targeted. I like Higbee.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add that one right now to my
3.5 over.
Over 3.5. It's plus 120 on FanDuel right now.
Yep.
So that's and compared to like, especially because the value at 2.5 is minus 196. So for one extra catch, you're getting almost 100 points. You are getting 100 points. You're getting like 110 points there for one catch. So I'm kind of on that one. Any last plays on this game before we get to our final game tonight?
Now we can get to the game of the week.
Gotcha. Yeah, Ravens Bills. The spread's at 1. I'm not. Again, this New York's gonna have some snowy, cold weather. I don't think Western New York is getting hit with the snowstorm that, well, not the snowstorm necessarily, but the snow that we're getting here in the city.
Is it not typically worse up there in Buffalo?
Yeah, but 16 degrees with a 7-mile-an-hour wind that's going towards the goalposts. This is going to be a tough game for either side, really. I kind of like the under here. I think this is like we talked about it last week. Last week was one of those games where the Bills kind of, they kind of pull their nuts out. They kind of show off like, yeah, we're good. We're a powerhouse. And then they get hit with a team that's at their level and they slow down a bit. But yeah, I without even looking at my like projections and stuff, the first thing I looked at was an under here. My projection system is showing an over, but I genuinely like the under here just because of one thing. If you look at when they, out of every playoff team they played that is made the playoffs this year, and they played Baltimore earlier, under 47.5. They played Houston under 48. When they played Kansas City, that was I believe that was actually that and Detroit were their only overs with teams that could legitimately compete with them. And mainly that's because, Detroit throws 500,000 times a game. And the Kansas City game, I think that everyone thought it was going to be like closer to like 20-17. And they had that kind of big run at the end that kind of hit them. So I kind of like the under here. I think both teams know what they're going to do. They know Josh Allen's going to try to throw the ball deep. They know Derrick Henry's going to run the ball. The only play I took in this one, I want to double check, actually, see if that's still live, because the odds on that were absolutely insane when I got it. Yes, so earlier this week, I saw Derrick Henry's rushing yards sitting at 97.5, right? Fanatics had, and it was 97.5 at -115. There was a couple 96s at like -130. Fanatics had 94.5 at -110. That alone got me enough value where I know I just talked about how I hate betting these long overs for Saquon, but Derrick Henry in 10-degree weather is not something you're going to want to try to tackle. You know what I mean?
No,
that's hitting that's hitting an open refrigerator downhill.
You don't want to tackle him in 90-degree weather.
That's what I'm saying. Like, now you're going to add that it's 10 degrees, and this guy who the last time he played at Buffalo, he stiff-armed Josh Norman into retirement. Like, it's like, could you imagine saying, yeah, it's 10 degrees, everyone's freezing, and you're wearing frozen metal and plastic, and now you have to tackle the biggest man in football? No. 95.5 yards, I think, is the good line here for him that I took. I would take it up to 97. I only took 95 just because it was -115 on something that should have been -140. Other than that, I think I'm sprinkling the under. I think a lot of anything that's not a player prop, in the playoffs, I tend to do, like, I don't do a unit on, just because playoffs are the most emotional, unpredictable things in sports. So you never know. Like, we could see it be, let's say it's 24-13 and you're at 37 and you think you're good, and then they throw 2 pick sixes trying to catch up with the game, and all of a sudden your bet loses. So I'm putting about half a unit on the under here. I think 51.5 at -114 is not bad. Yeah, I'm trying to see where else I see it at. Yeah, no, most books have it right on the dot at 51.5. So, but where are you looking at for this one?
Honestly, this one is a little harder for me. I feel like everything's a little juiced, even though it's supposed to be snowing. Like, the line's still 51.5, but We're supposed to be getting freezing weather. We got two teams who will run the ball if they want to. And the Ravens, their defense is okay. Sometimes they let up too many points. These teams already played, and the Ravens kind of smacked them, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
But Buffalo is undefeated at home. I honestly I'm kind of biased towards Detroit and Buffalo because earlier in the beginning of the season, I bet on them to go to the Super Bowl at like plus, see what I got this at, plus 5,000 on September 3rd. I bet Buffalo versus Detroit, so still hoping for that. So I'm just going to be sitting back enjoying this game, honestly. Maybe I'll bet some Mark Andrews, but I'm not really sure about this game.
I've seen a lot of value on Isaiah Likely. I don't mind it, mainly because I got to find the stat I found. I think it's something like Likely has scored a touchdown in like every big game that they've had in their
like prime time.
Yeah. Because think about it. So Likely has a soft spot for me just because I'm never good to start a season, and I hit him for a touchdown at like plus 600 week 1. And I had him and Pacheco each to get a touchdown for like a plus 1,000 parlay to start the season. So I always have a big thing. But looking at the games he scored touchdowns in this season, you have Kansas City, 2 in Cincinnati. There's one that's not even listed, and then he had a 3 and 4 game stretch where they played. It's not showing up on my thing, so I have to actually go and like find this. Where after they played the Chargers, he scored against the Eagles, he scored against the Steelers, and he scored against the Texans. So playoff implication level games, like must-win games, he seems to be prevalent. And especially the other reason I'm so big on this one is I didn't take it when I first saw it. I wanted to see how the line moved. I see people who got this at plus 600 for Likely to score a touchdown.
What?
He's sitting at plus 267 right now.
600 is absurd.
And you can get FanDuel plus 280. Like I think he's good for one. I really do. I'm still on the fence if I want to take it. If I do, it's going to be like a quarter of a unit. But I'm in on Likely. I think this week. I think we see enough of him when they play each other. I'm trying to see his targets. He only had 26 receiving yards earlier, but last time they played. But then again, they were blowing them out in the end of the first quarter, so they weren't really throwing as much when Derrick Henry's going off for 100 yards.
Zay Flowers is out too, so
yeah, I think this could be this is going to be the week I say it could be an Isaiah Likely week. I don't bet it, and it is. Even Stevie Picks called it last week too. He said Likely's going to score a touchdown. Likely's going to get at least 50 yards. He called it out last week too. So I think I'm with him again on this one. I think Likely might be the move here. His line's at 37. He's projected 36. You could probably use 25 in a parlay piece, or you could even use like over 1.5 catches with like Justice Hill 1.5 catches and get that close to plus money.
Yeah, 1.5 catches. I like that. And with the Justice Hill, that seems pretty solid.
Yeah, Justice Hill, 2.5 catches for minus 150. Likely 3.5 at plus 100. So you could probably get 2.5 for like, or 1.5 for like 300, something like that, and mix it in. Yeah. Anything else for you on this one?
For the King of the End Zone, I kind of like as a long shot. I guess he's not really a long shot right now. Rashad Bateman. He's been a little bit of a touchdown guy the last couple of weeks. Zay Flowers out. Scored a touchdown in 4 of the last 5 games. 5 of the last 7. So he's been a pretty consistent touchdown guy for Lamar. And he seems to always score when I bet on him. I'm not sure why. Last week I bet on him for the longest end zone. He scored a touchdown. Definitely wasn't the longest, but at least we won that.
Yeah, I think I have a weird spot for for almost Ravens receivers, like because it was like last year it was like, yeah, this is his number one receiver, and everyone just sucked.
Yeah.
So it's one of those like I don't want to believe that they're actually cooking now, but they are, and that's the problem. But
Bateman's just kind of his guy when he gets down under there. I feel like.
Yeah. You know what? Every time with Bateman, he gives me the Darnell Mooney on Chicago vibe. Like every week he gets a catch, and you're like, oh yeah, he's there. Like
yeah, he gets like a bomb, and you're like, this guy's so good. He's so fast. I was a big Darnell Mooney on the Bears guy.
So the running joke this year on for Frequency Sake Network is 1 week when Westbrook Akine got on his touchdown streak. When he scored the first one, I was like, because they had Ridley, they got Tyler Boyd, they had Hopkins, they had like good receivers around them. And I was like, oh yeah, he's still in the league. And then next week I was like, huh, good for him. He played 4 plays, got 2 touchdowns. And then I saw and I was like, his line, and I was like, for someone who scored back-to-back weeks with a touchdown, plus 700 is a wild line. So I put some money on it and it hit. And then the next week I had a no sweat touchdown bet. So I did him and Jonnu Smith because those were the 2 guys I was like, I kind of forgot they were in the league, but they're playing good. And then for 3 weeks straight, I bet that every single week, and I turned $5 into like 500, like over 3 weeks. So, yeah, guys like Bateman always have that kind of weird spot in my heart where it's like I'm never gonna bet them. And then I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, I saw that. I saw he was going to go off this week. I just didn't touch it.
What's your favorite game for this weekend?
It's got to be Buffalo-Baltimore just because, I mean, this is going to decide who wins MVP. I think it's still going to be Josh Allen, but I think this is going if Buffalo loses, it will put a lot more into the conversation. I think if Buffalo wins and Josh Allen plays really well, I think we'll kind of be done with the conversation. It'll be like, yeah, he's clearly the MVP.
But aren't they both already cast? They're just going to be like,
yeah. But NFL Twitter, they're going to argue this for the next 5 years.
Yeah, just like Lamar when he loses, they're like, why was he MVP? Losing to the Titans in the first.
Yeah, the fact that the actual MVP is supposed to be Joe Burrow and he didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than that, I mean, yeah, there's not much else for me personally that I'm looking at here. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't have too much for this game.
Yeah, and I got all our plays tabbed in here. We can track them and see how we did. Show them off on Monday morning.
I also got a little a parlay I made of the kind of picks that we both been. I heard you say, or only one I said, of Detroit Lions money line second quarter.
Okay.
DeAndre Hopkins 4+ receptions.
Okay.
Jahmyr Gibbs over 3.5 receptions.
Okay.
And Tyler Higbee over 3.5 receptions for plus 1672.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, we're gonna have to add that one to the card. Yeah, that's gonna be a fun. That's gonna be my little sweat for the weekend. Got one play from each game.
Little weird one. I love
that's gonna be the. You know what it is? We're gonna hit the first 2 legs, and we're gonna be sitting there at night, not sleeping, being like, "Oh my god, this might hit tomorrow."
Yeah, sometimes I kind of screw myself because I'm like, I don't want to like make a thing and like use legs for the next day because I want it all to happen on one day. And then if I did it would have hit.
Those are the beautiful days where like, you hit the first 2 legs, you cash out, and then you use a portion of the profit on the next 2 to hit. That's what I did. I did a tennis bet, and I didn't realize that I had placed the bet yet, and I put it with a bet for this Sunday, and the odds on it plus 700, and the tennis bet hit, and it was like, okay, do you want to cash out now? We'll give you I think it was like a $10 to win $80 bet, and it was like, we'll give you a cash out of $20. Took it, and then I put 5 of the $10 profit on the bet to hit, so I still make some kind of a profit off it. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I think that's it for the show. Yeah, if you want to stick around after we end the stream, we'll make sure we get all the plays lined up so I could track them. But for everyone watching, thank you guys for tuning in. You guys can check me and Better Bets out on Moneyline Go and Twitter. Moneyline Go is the best place for cappers. You can get every single capper for low prices, best insight, best community on Twitter, without a doubt. Once again, thank you guys all for thank you to all our sponsors, Ryan Allison Tattoo, Durham Remodeling. I know I'm forgetting another couple off the top of my head. I'm sorry, DJ, don't shoot me out after this. Thank you guys again for watching, and have a good night.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.